Here's the economic update for March 21st, 2026. So we just had our Fed meeting on March 18th. They decided to hold interest rates at 3.5% to 3.75%. Remember, this is the Fed's funds rate. This is the overnight rate. This is a short term. They are buying up 0 to 3-year Treasury bills at the moment. They said that the economy is still expanding. However, there are low job gains. They said that the unemployment rate has changed little. However, the inflation remains elevated. And if you want to talk through that, we got our jobs report on March 6th from the BLS. We had a loss of 92,000 jobs in February. We had revisions down for January and December. So January now has 126,000 jobs added, and December went from positive now to negative. It was revised down by 65,000 jobs, down to minus 17,000 jobs. For our unemployment, we're at 4.4% unemployment. About 7.6 million people are unemployed. Remember, that only counts people that are basically on unemployment for this period of time. Once they get beyond 6+ months, or they're not looking, or they haven't applied for jobs or anything like that, they start rolling off that number. So that number is actually much higher. Our initial unemployment claims, they're basically just bouncing around. They're pretty much range bound. I'm not seeing anything in like massive layoffs. I'm just seeing that the 27-week unemployment rate is now at about 1 in 4 people have been unemployed for more than 6 months. On March 13th, we had our JOLTS report. We have 6.9 million open and available jobs. But if you look at that compared to the 7.6 million people that are actively looking for jobs, we have about 1.1 people who are unemployed for every 1 job. The canary in the coal mine, if you look at teen unemployment, it's at 14.9% rising, and African Americans, it's at 7.7%. So they're elevated significantly compared to that 4.4% number for the average. When we look at inflation, February 27th, our producers price index was at 2.9%. This went down slightly, but it's been going up, and just went down a little bit over the last month. Producers price index core, this is minus food and energy, that's at 3.4%. It went down slightly, but again, it's been rising over the last couple of months. March 11th, we had our consumer price index, 2.4%. This is unchanged from the prior month. And our consumer price index core minus food and energy, also at 2.5%, holding steady. So nothing changed there. On March 13th, our personal consumption expenditures were at 2.8%. They went down slightly. However, our PCE core, that's minus food and energy, has gone up. It's at 3.1%. Do recognize that the Fed has a target of 2%. They have a dual mandate of stable prices. They choose to keep it around 2% because if it goes negative, deflation is actually worse than inflation because people stop spending money and it leads to a depression. They also want to maintain maximum employment. So what you don't want to see is unemployment going up or job losses. So the problem here is we have elevated inflation, like they are stating in their report, and we're losing jobs. So we have low job gains, and they want to say it's little change, but it's in the wrong direction. For our gross domestic product or GDP, first quarter 2025 is minus about 0.5%. Second quarter rose by 3.8%. That's very high. Third quarter rose by 4.4%. That's the highest in over 2 years. Fourth quarter went up by 0.7%. It's probably impacted by the U.S. shutdown in October and November. First quarter of 2026, this is now estimated at 2.3%. It's been coming down over the last couple of weeks, partly due to the Iranian conflict as well as the Department of Homeland Security shutdown. If you're looking to travel anywhere, it's not a good time to go to the airport. Trust me, I know, I travel a lot. And if you want to look at components of GDP, do recognize that about 60 to 70% of GDP is generally consumer spending. So as long as people keep spending money, it tends to do well. If people get afraid and stop spending, or they're losing their jobs, let's say, they stop spending money, they stop paying their bills, and that's where you start running into issues. Another area of concern I have at the moment is private credit. So like Blue Owl and some of the other companies at the moment, you'll see their stock, basically it's plummeting at the moment. And the reason being is that they're not allowing people to pull their money out of their funds, so people don't have access. And when that happens, people panic. They try to get as much as they can out, but they're limiting what you can withdraw at many of these private lenders. So that generally happens when bad times are ahead. So how's the consumer doing? March 13th, we had the Michigan Survey of Consumers. The index of consumer sentiment was down 1.9% month over month, and it's down 2.6% year over year. Current economic conditions went up by 2.1% month over month, down 9.4% still year over year. If you look at the index of consumer expectation, this went down by 4.4% month over month. However, it went up 2.9% year over year. Do remember that we had tariffs that were announced and going into place in early April 2025. So just, a little under a year ago. March 13th, we had a disposable personal income number come in at positive 219.9 billion. That's up 0.9%. Our personal consumption expenditures went up by 81.1 billion, up by 0.4%. As long as our income's going up higher than what we're spending, that would be good. With higher spending, you're going to see higher inflation. So we're not spending money on things that are fun. They're spending on necessities like healthcare, housing, utilities, and people are spending less on, motor vehicles. One good thing to note here is people are saving a bit more, so they're at 4.5% for the personal savings rate. Some negative news here. March 4th, 401k hardship withdrawals are now at 6%. This has been climbing. And if you look at 90-day credit cards, car, and school loans for being delinquent, those are on the rise as well. And they're pretty much at some of the highest levels they've been since the Great Recession. For real estate, on March 10th, there's a little over 4 million existing home sales. We're down 1.4% year over year. The median home price is $398,000. That's plus 0.3% year over year. If you take into account inflation, that's actually negative year over year, but it's still positive in nominal sense. We have 1.29 million existing homes for sale. This is up 4.9% year over year. We're at 3.8 months of supply. In order to have a balanced, real estate market, you want to have 6 months. Less than 6 months, it's a seller's market. More than 6 months, it becomes a buyer's market. For our manufacturing, March 2nd, we had our ISM numbers come in. Manufacturing is growing, which is good for the second month. However, it's starting to slow down already. The economy is still growing. However, it is slowing down. It's been growing for 16 months. For our economic indicators, on March 19th, our leading economic indicators fell again in January. However, they are still not triggering a recession signal, and this has been since August of last year. So it's good that it's not falling that fast. It's bad that it's falling. And what they said is effectively this is due to consumer expectations dragging. Now in January, the S&P 500, when looking back 6 months, it was still up. If we look at this right now, the S&P 500 would no longer be something that is positive in this index because it's been falling. It's about 5% down. It's probably likely to fall further. It's pretty typical to have a 10% drop during most years. So it wouldn't surprise me if it went more than 10%. And if the Iranian conflict goes on much longer and the Strait of Hormuz is blocked longer, it could go down, 20+%. So I'm still dollar cost averaging, but we'll get to that in a minute. Our coincident economic indicators are still rising, so that's good news. When we look around the world at the leading economic indicators, China, the Eurozone, and the US, all leading economic indicators have fallen. And for good news, if you look at Mexico, Japan, Korea, France, Germany, Brazil, India, and Spain, all their leading economic indicators have been growing. Mexico is over 1%, Japan's 0.9%, Korea's 0.9%. So those are very strong numbers there. So the Iranian conflict with the US, Israel, and they also bombed 13 other countries around them. The way this impacts us economically is that about 20% of the world's oil supply goes through this place called the Strait of Hormuz, and they can block effectively that strait pretty easily by shooting across drones or rockets or mining the waters, and that'll keep people from, moving tankers through there. Tankers are slow moving, carrying tons of flammable material, so it doesn't take much to set them off. So that's why a lot of the oil tankers are no longer going through that strait. So there's been a sharp increase in fuel prices. So if you have a car, you understand. So it doesn't only affect gas prices. It affects gas prices, jet fuel, and the big one for me is diesel. It also impacts sulfur production, fertilizer production, and do recall that it's spring and it's about time to plant all of our food. So your inputs to planting food for the tractors and everything, if they go up, the food prices go up. Diesel is also used in shipping. It's used for train transit and trucking. So anything you buy, it has to move from one place to another. It's going to use diesel, and diesel is over $5 a gallon now. Over the last couple of weeks, there's been oil fields and refineries that have been attacked by both sides. A barrel of oil has gone from about $55 a barrel to now over $110 a barrel, and it's going up and down. So it might go up and down a few dollars here and there. But if this war continues, you can expect this to rise. Fuel prices have a huge impact on inflation. So if you look at PPI, CPI, PCE, these all include fuel prices. So I would expect over the next month or 2 months for these to go up significantly. Core takes those out, but really what you're paying, you're going to see that. Many economists will say if we do hit over somewhere between $130 to $150 a barrel for any sustained period of time, it is highly likely that we will hit a recession. Basically, if you have plastics, it comes from oil, all your transportation, lots of your energy, electricity, transit, it comes from oil. Oil supplies impact pretty much every economy around the world. And they have such a big impact that 38 countries are now considering releasing strategic oil reserves. The United States is looking to release about 175 million barrels. The US is relieving sanctions on Russian oil to increase supply from Russia. But in doing so, that's providing money to Russia. And if the US is backing Ukrainian forces, it's basically giving money to the enemy of our ally. And then there was some question of should Iranian oil tankers be allowed to sell the oil that's already out at sea. Again, that's to drop the price of oil. However, you're giving that money to people that you're actively at war with. So it's not a perfect world. In order to avoid economic slowdowns or recessions in basically Asia, the United States, and the Eurozone, we need to open the Strait of Hormuz. And I've heard from several service members, as well as on the news, the U.S. is moving thousands of Marines and other ground forces to the Middle East. They're not saying that they're going to be deployed necessarily in Iran yet. I've heard a lot of them will be deployed into Israel at the moment, but they are bringing amphibious assault vehicles. So I can only imagine why they would do that. Probably eventually they would put forces on strategic areas. So we'll see how that goes. So what am I doing with this information? Well, now more than ever, I want to make sure I'm out of debt, and I want to make sure that I have a 6-month emergency fund, because now more than ever, there's 25% of the people that are unemployed for 6 months or longer. And we're seeing job losses in, 90 something thousand, when if you wanted to have the unemployment rate stay stable, you should probably have about 70,000 jobs created every month. We're not creating positive jobs. We're having net losses of jobs, if you take on average a 6-month period. So that's the first step. Next step, any money that I need in the next 5 years, say I need to make a repair to a roof, I'm buying a house, I'm having a wedding, any of those types of things, or I'm going into retirement. I want to have whatever I need for the next 5 years. I'm going to put that in high yield savings, CDs, something that won't lose value. Because stocks can lose value as they are at the moment. They've lost about 5%. I anticipate that's going to continue. Any money I don't need for at least 5 years, I'm using dollar cost averaging. Every time I get paid, I still put the same amount of money into investments. About 70-80% of that goes into the S&P 500. About 10 to 20% goes to a total international fund. About 0 to 10%, closer to 10% at the moment, is going into long-term bonds. That's basically because if interest rates go down, bond value goes up. But if inflation stays high, we might not actually see interest rates go down that much more. In addition to those investments, I also hold, gold, silver, copper, aluminum, brass, lead, steel, all kinds of different metals. I also hold a couple of options. So the option that's panning out right now, I bought when basically the fear index was very low, the VIX was very low, so it had a very low premium, was SPY put option that expires sometime in June. I also have a TLT call option, which expires in 2027. That one might not pan out if inflation stays high. However, if the stock market goes down, the SPY put option helps protect me against downside risk. So I get to hold all of my shares and I don't have to worry if stocks fall. I actually make money as stocks fall. I can sell off the option and then I can just buy more shares when they're at a discount. If you found this video useful, please subscribe. I cover a lot of topics such as how to make more money, how to save, how to invest, how to be an entrepreneur, limit your risk, start businesses for very little amount of money. So if any of that interests you, please subscribe. Have a great day.